Hey, everybody. Well, didn't want to turn it down too much. Anyway, Jolo's here, Battle Rankings Live. Hey, everybody. Welcome to our Team Yankee Masters recap. So, I know a little bit of a delay, but here we are. And we'll let what song is this?
Oh, come on.
Stars and Stripes Forever.
Thank you.
Anyway, I am here with my lovely and talented producer, Ann. Say hi, Ann.
Hi, Ann.
And we're here, of course, why we have the music? Piccolos. Well, we just had the 4th of July.
Yes.
And what better than Stars and Stripes Forever as the song to open up with. Anyway, so what I'm going to do is normally we let the songs play out and everyone's wondering where the heck we are and why it's taking so long. What's this, like an 8-minute song?
No, it's 3 minutes and 27 seconds.
It's a 20-minute song.
No, 3 minutes.
It's 30 minutes?
3 minutes.
3 minutes?
And 27 seconds.
And 27 minutes and 3 seconds? Anyway, I'm just kidding. Anyway, so here we got... I know we want to go we want to I am reading a comment. Yeah, well, she is a keeper, but anyway, let's get lost in the music there. So we got a lot of ground to cover. We want to get everyone involved that's coming in onto the show. So we normally we're going to start with, well, you know what we're going to start with, right? We broadcasted one table, 6 rounds, the 1 through 6, and that was the what we call the Little Fallujah table. And I try to get this in as much as possible, so that let me turn it up, and we introduce this every time. Oh yeah, I learned something new. Sponsored. Okay, so basically we were sponsored by Battlefront, who provided the shirts, tokens, and a lot of the plaque. So yeah, the big time sponsor. It was Family Time Games where we hosted it.
Do you even have the little objective marker that they got? I have one of those to show.
No, actually, I asked one for myself, but I gave mine away.
You did.
I did, because you know why? That's the kind of guy hold on. Because
maybe one of the guys can show that they're objective marker.
That's the kind of guy I am. I care. I care. Anyway, so
maybe Andrew or somebody can show their objective marker that they got.
Well, I don't think Andrew's going to get up from his chair and go grab an objective marker. Yeah.
Chris, maybe.
Or Chris or John. I think I see John rummaging around.
Okay.
Okay. So, we got this. Let me go through upcoming tournaments. Okay.
You gotta do the upcoming.
We'll just bang these out, get them out of the way, because I know everyone's. There's a lot of people waiting to hear what the tournaments are up. So July 10th, this was this weekend. This one they put in real quick. So Hard Knocks Games, Elizabethtown, New York. They are doing a de-escalation, 185-70, 3 rounds. Now, if that sounds familiar, it should, because that's what I ran as a side tournament. Now, why are the guys at the Hard Knocks Games running this? The short story is that Ed Hall was going to come up for for our side tournament. He got into a little bit of a fender bender. Someone love tapped him from the back, kind of ruined the bumper a little of his car, and he was depressed, so he went home. And I can understand that someone hit your car, so he wasn't in the mood to play. So what happened was they're gonna, since he had everything running ready, they're gonna run that this weekend. So Saturday, 3 rounds. July 25th, the Vault in Felton, 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 Delaware. They're doing believe it or not, it's a Sunday, by the way. It is a Sunday. Mid-war, 60 points, 3 rounds. How many armored cars can you get for 60 points? Let's find out. August 14th, Gold Mine Games in Richmond, Texas. I believe this is outside of Houston. They're doing a Team Yankee 105, 3 rounds. Brand new store. I think this is their second tournament. So if you're in the Texas area or the Houston area, go check it out. August 20th and 21st, NashCon's happening. I did get an email from the people that are running NashCon. They do have a few openings left for both Friday and Saturday. So if you're thinking about going to NashCon, there's still room. Not much more. I think one has 4 and the other one has 3 or something like that. Remember from the email. Yeah, they just have a few tables, a few spots left. So do that. Come on down, do that. I think Friday is the 105 late war, and then Saturday should be interesting. It's another mid-war de-escalation, 95, 85, 79. I should have asked what the significance of the numbers are, or they're not. But anyway, 3 rounds. That should be good. That's actually going to be in around Nashville. Then also on August 21st, but all the way across the country in Alameda, California, Flames of War on the USS Hornet. So the aircraft carrier is a museum there, and they have a space there where they have a tournament. So they've been doing this for a couple years. So they're doing a late war 105, 3 rounds. So if you find yourself in California for some reason, there's a tournament to go to. Good news on the front, Gen Con, 16th, 17th, and 18th. So Thursday is mid-war. Friday is Team Yankee. Saturday is late war. All 100 points, 3 rounds. Everything is official. I think the badges, you can get your badges now, and I believe, if Chris could nod your head, that the tickets go on sale soon or on sale now. But they should go on sale soon. And then Huracan, which is down in Florida, the September 24th and 25th, they are also doing a Team Yankee on the 24th and a late war 100 points on the 25th. So there's that. So if you're down in the Florida area, which we were, that's matter of fact, that's why we didn't have a show. We went to the Orlando area and actually saw a launch, which I'll get into.
Kennedy Space Center.
Oh, yeah. Space Coast, actually.
Sure.
All right, thanks. Okay.
Is it in your car?
No, it's right there on the edge, on the counter over there. All right. I'm still waiting to hear on Advance the Colors, CincyCon, and I have heard some information for Historicon. They are planning to do a Team Yankee and a Flames of War event. So how many points and rounds and stuff like that, stay tuned. But they're looking to come out, Battlefront's looking to come out of the gate and do a Team Yankee and a Flames of War event. So there could be a possibility of 9 rounds between the two events. So hopefully get your comfortable shoes on and your gaming legs on, and you're going to have to start working out, getting back into gaming shape. Also announced on November 14th, which is in Round Rock, Texas, Millennium Con. That's late. There's a late war escalation, 60, 80, 20. So some people in Jacob Myers actually running that in Texas. So speaking of which and everything like that. So we want to travel and I think it tastes better in this mug. Anyway, so we saw some new things, experienced some new things, but I don't think the experience changes us at all. Yeah. Anyway, stupid beaver. There's nothing like pulling up to a gas station and seeing 104 gas pumps, and all of them full. Oh, okay. Anyway, so we got that going on.
All right, get to your Masters.
All right. Yes. Here's the North America Masters. Here is the picture that we took. You could see. Let me blow this up a little. You could see I'm the TO. I TO'd, and you could see all 16 of the players there. Okay, all 16 players pictured. Good looking crowd. Had some good times there. Let's bring in some of the people that attended. For those, so tickets go on for this Sunday. Okay, let me just bring them in. I'm gonna bring them in the way they're in the order. I see them here. Andrew Hobson. Hey, Andrew.
Hey, Joe. How's it going?
It goes. Oh, let me turn my sound down here because I had to do that. I had to turn it up for the explosion.
Oh yeah,
important. Christopher Fretz. Hey, Chris.
Hey.
And John Muir. Hey, John.
Yep. How's it going?
He's sporting that lovely beard. He's got the beard thing going. For those, Andrew, people are wanting to know, how's the leg?
It is doing well, recovering nicely.
Okay. And for those who are in the group chat, check your email. Then you have a link to get on here, Mr. Jackson. Just saying. Anyway, there we go. Let me drop. There he goes. Chris, how you doing?
Yes, welcome.
Sorry, thought I had.
No problem. I'm just going to shift to the. There we go. Yeah, there we go. So, let's talk about the format Oops. Here we go. Let's get us bigger here. All right. So for those who don't know or didn't remember or see what was going on, the format was this. You start with a base of 70 points. And then that's how you build your formation any way, how you wanted. And then you had a sidebar, 10, 20, or 30 points. So you built a sidebar of 10 points, 20 points, 30 points. The thing is, it still had to make it still had to be legal, and it also could not modify or change the 70 points that you had already. So, gentlemen, what did you think of the format first? We'll just start with Andrew.
I liked it. It forced me to do some things that I didn't want to do. Leave some units at home that I couldn't fit in otherwise. But, once I sort of got my head around how I was supposed to build the list, I was able to put together something viable at all points levels. And it was fun not always running the exact same army 6 times in a row.
That's true. I guess that could get a little old. Frets, I'm just going to go with your last names because it's two Chris's.
Well, the other thing you didn't mention is we had the 6 rounds. We could only attack, maneuver, and defend twice, which also was an extra special feature of the tournament, and again made us think more because we couldn't weigh our force and say, okay, I'm always going to attack with this force, and
or
defend. We didn't know which point level we were going to be playing which force. So that was an additional challenge, and like Andrew, I had to make some choices playing the Dutch. I pretty much ran out of stuff to choose in terms of some of my 10, 20, or 30 sideboards, unless I added an additional formation from another nationality. So it was interesting.
Jackson, what did you think?
Well, my biggest requirement for the formats at these things is that they actually force somebody to come out of their comfort zone. It's a Masters tournament. If you're a one-trick pony, you shouldn't be there in the first place. And if you are there, then you should be getting crushed 4 out of the 6 games. So the format that we chose, where you forced different point levels with the requirement to do different things. You might never have to defend, but you'd have to get lucky and do a defend against somebody, so that you're doing a meeting engagement, but you're still not going to get 4 or 6 games where you defend. So I really enjoyed it. I tried something new with my force. I took the low point level tanks, brought a bunch of them, and then have the heavy hitter Abrams in there. It worked at all points levels with just minor modifications. I had a couple of requirements that I wanted to see, and I got them into every list.
All right. And John, how about you?
Yeah, I liked it because it makes me come out of my comfort zone. I'm usually a defensive player. For anybody who usually plays against me knows that I like to defend a lot. So it forces me to attack, and I can't usually bring the list that I like to bring because I can't attack with it. So I had to, change up my play style a little bit. So I like it because it pushes me to be a better player.
Okay, good. Well, all right, I'm just checking out comments. So, okay, we'll talk about. Oh yeah, I did, didn't I? I was trying to remember everything. So, I was talking to Chris about your comment about the tournament on the 24th. Okay. Anyway, let's talk about. Let's take a look at who you guys played the first round. Let's go down here. Chris Fretz, you played JB the first round with a 3-3 draw.
Yeah. Do you have the missions on record somewhere?
Oh, yeah, actually, I do.
That might be helpful in reminding all of us now that time has passed.
Oh, yes. Hold on. I got all my notes here. So,
Okay.
you got. I think. You guys. I wrote down E, so that must be encounter.
Encounter. That's right. Yeah. Yeah. JB was the first on my West German and sometimes Israeli Odyssey of the first day. Because I also played John Meyer here in the second round. But JB was running Israelis and West Germans together. He had a huge infantry force. I think there were 5 infantry platoons, something like that. No tanks. A little bit of artillery. Of course, missiles galore. And we played encounter. And he had enough infantry and personnel carriers and missiles that I wasn't able to make a move across the table with my light armor. I was running a Leo company along with Dutch infantry, and my 2 little infantry platoons were again dwarfed by his numerous ones. So my first thing was knocking out as many of his APCs and missiles as I could, which I did a pretty good job on, I think. And he was, of course, working on me at the same time. And neither of us got to a point of having an advantage. And so we ended up with a 3-3 draw.
Okay. Then just going down here, Tim, John, you played John Holland, also with the 3-3 tie, and I guess you both picked defend, and it also looks like it's encounter. Am I right?
Yeah, we both ended up with encounter. My plan was to defend with my high point lists, and I couldn't really move across the table because he had almost all his toes were toe twos. So even my Merkavas had time, moving across the table. And then he had Abrams, so I was mostly focused on taking those out. I'd say if we had another 15 minutes, I would have broke his formation because I got him down to his HQ, a platoon that was last standing, and he had a platoon of 2 those toes hammerheads. But I was able to wipe out most of his formation with my Prias, but we kind of ran out of time, and I wasn't able to break his formation.
Okay. Then next on the list here, Andrew and Chris Jackson, you guys played with. Looks like Jackson, you got a win. And you guys played. Where are you guys?
There's
at?
no retreat.
Jackson. I didn't write it down. So, Jackson, you picked defend. Andrew, you picked attack. Do you guys remember what you guys played?
I think it was no retreat.
Okay.
Yeah, that sounds right.
Yeah, because I knew I didn't want to let him bring all of his guns to bear at the beginning of the game, so I decided to attack. And we had played the last round of Masters last year too, so it was kind of picking up where we left off. So basically, I wanted to get in there, hit him as hard as I could, as fast as I could, hopefully win the game before his Abrams came on.
How did that work out for you?
It came closer than it should have. Let's put it that way. I was on the objective, and basically I had misread a card where I thought my troops rallied on a 3 and they rallied on a 4, and I had rallied and killed them off the objective, and then Chris wisely looked at my card and went, "You rally on a 4," at which point I realized that I should not have had that opportunity, and at which point I conceded. So.
Okay. Chris, well, first of all, you ran with the G.I. Joe tanks. I don't know what else to call them. How'd they work out for you?
Pretty good. I mean, everybody was looking at me like I was crazy, but some games I didn't lose any. Some games I lost 1 or 2. Only against Cedarburg did I lose all of them. But that seemed to be a common thread across the board against Cedarburg. Against Andrew, he did a great job. He used his smoke perfectly. Started treating the infantry platoon on the objective early. I shifted.
And they're a German infantry platoon.
Yeah, it was a German infantry platoon. I wasn't getting much in the way of return shots until really late, and he had already really decimated both of the infantry platoons. I had my U.S. come from the back objective forward to help contest the objective, and there at the end, I tried like hell to give him the game by pulling the infantry back off the objective and not defending it, leaving just one lone Gepard to hold it, which, like you said, he unpinned with threes, 2 infantry platoons, ran them over and shot. And then we went, wait a minute. And he took it back and gave me the 6-3.
Yeah. You also ran your Abrams up within 14 inches of my 2 surviving Leos in the very last turn, and they were able to get on the flank shot, kill 1, bail 1, and he failed his morale. Or kill 2, bailed 1, failed morale. Yeah.
So the Abrams ran.
Yeah, they did.
Oh, I hate it when it happens. Well, the table number 8, that's the little Fallujah table, and that's the table that we did a broadcast with, and so you could see that in if you go to the Battle Rankings archives, YouTube or Facebook, and you could see the replay. The replay in round 1, which was interesting. That was Patrick Rice and Bill White. Bill kind of goofed up on the deployment and pretty much lost round 2 or 3 or something like that. It was pretty bad. So anyway, but so you could see that. Now, what I did do is after that, I actually I tilted the camera back and actually so people could see the action that was going on in the room. So you could see that. Not much to see round 1 on table 8. So, Bill jumping in there. Yeah, it's okay, but it happens, All right, so let's move to. We'll go to round 2. Ding, ding, ding. So, okay. So, Chris, you ended up meeting John Cedarburg.
No. John Meyer. Round 2.
What's that? Oh, Chris Jackson. Sorry.
Junior. I got Junior.
You end up playing JB.
Yep.
Now, how'd that go?
I won it from a poor deployment on his part. We were fighting outflanked. I think that was the 80-point level. And he deployed a German infantry platoon on the objective. He kind of focused on me coming straight across the table at him, forgetting that I could, spearhead out and then come in on his flank, hence the name of the mission. So turn 1, the Abrams were inside the minimum shoot range of his Milans, and there was a hill there that blocked them from everything else. So they were able to clear the hill off, and we spent another 4 or 5, maybe even 6 turns with him feeding stuff in and me trying to shoot it off the objective. It got down to the wire, and both of us were almost out of Schlitz, and finally managed to shoot the last guy off and keep him off. It took both infantry platoons most of the Abrams, and everything that had a machine gun on it was in there shooting. But it finally got him to run away and left me holding the objective that I'd been contesting since turn 1.
Yeah, I wrote the mission down as OF. That's
Outflanked.
outflank, right? So, which is one of the new ones. That's a good. I don't know. My jury's still out on that one, but that's good. Then, John. Oh, hey, John and Chris Fretz played each other. Yeah. And hold on, you guys.
We played Dust Up.
You played Dust Up.
Yep.
Chris. Oh, there it is, John.
Yeah,
Dust Up.
I dug up my Facebook post, so I have rememberings of.
Yeah,
you both in the moment.
Yeah, you both picked Attacked, and you ended up with Dust Up.
Yep.
So, who wants to go first?
John, would you like to?
Yeah, I'll go. So, 80 points. I decided I wanted to attack, and we ended up with Dust Up. I put most of my tanks in reserve, and I tried to put an infantry platoon with the spearhead as close to his objective as I could. And I used my other 2 infantry platoons to hold the objective. But for the most part, I got the first turn, so I had no artillery and no moving rate of fire. So I pretty much ended my first turn without doing anything. And then his first turn, he took out a mortar platoon and took another mortar platoon down to 2. So I had to reroll hits. So I was already hurt in turn 2. And then my reserves came on, but I just couldn't move on to the objective because he had enough toes and I only have light armor. And his tanks just came across, and I couldn't make last stands, and I couldn't rally. And so most of my fearless infantry decided not to be fearless and ran away from the objective, allowing him to walk his tanks on. And I like the Magok 6s, but their rate of fire going from a 2 to 1 when they move really hurt. Also trying to counterattack his Leo walking onto the objective.
Yeah, and I tried to knock out your Perez and couldn't, and ended up, I think, I broke the West German formation, and I think at the end of the game you didn't have a whole lot left other than the Perez. Because eventually I was able to take one of the objectives there.
Yep.
Okay. Is it Perez or Pariah?
I think it's
Pariah. I call them Pariah.
And definitely pariahs if they're shooting at me.
I don't know. All I know is that you don't have to see what you're shooting at.
That's right.
It's very nice.
Yeah, they're very tough to deal with. I had both in JB and in John's. I mean, they were a high priority target to knock out, and unfortunately, in both cases, they were able to last the game. I think I got one of JB's. I don't think I got any of yours, John.
Yeah, mine survived for.
Yeah, they can stay out of line of sight entirely. So, I was trying to clip them with my 109 battery, wherever I could, sort of get a side around the corner sort of a wood where they were hiding behind and try and catch them under it. But it was no good. And I think you, John, knocked out one of my 109s early. So I was shooting with 2 guns. So not only was that, I was having to repeat.
Yeah, I think that's
actually, no, I didn't. No, actually, I didn't have them in that list. That's right. We were playing the 80-point list. That was the one list where I really wished I had them, because all I had were the West German rocket trucks, and I only had 2 of those. And then I had mortars, and neither the mortars were out of range, and the rockets just couldn't do it.
Yeah, I think throughout the entire game, or through that entire game, I only killed 1 mortar, and I killed like 1 Leo 2 with them. They just couldn't hit that game for the most part. That kind of helped out.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I see that it's the Tazun missile. Yeah, range 64, minimum 16. Rate of fire halted 1, and anti-tank 21, and a 3+. Heat, but also non-line of sight.
Right.
So what's that? Just add a 1 or something like that to hit?
Yeah.
Whatever you shoot at, it's always in cover, no matter what.
Okay. So
yeah, that limits their effectiveness a little bit, especially against NATO tanks, but it's still annoying.
As I see it, as long as they take out one thing of artillery, they may back their points because it makes most artillery worthless when they have to reroll hits.
yeah, good point.
I think Chris Jackson once described them to me as attacks on the opponent's list. Every turn, they're just paying attacks to one vehicle or two vehicles.
William, who's here, he had a game against Alex, so he won. That's good. And then on table 8, Ryan versus Dave Vigor. They did no retreat, so you could see that the second round on our on playback, and you can see their game. So that takes us to round 3.
They left out me kicking Charlie Clay's butt in round 2.
Oh, you know what? I'm sorry. You know what? I'm sorry. You're right. You played Charlie Clay, who, by the way, I'll admit, I haven't really researched that, but we didn't have the right shirt size for him. This kind of bummed him out a little, and I don't well. Anyway, so how did you make his day better, there, Andrew?
Well, I improved his day. He was playing an Iraqi BMP list, if I recall correctly, because he had boards, and those were BMP 1s. So
Charlie picked attack, you picked defend, and you guys were playing
Bridgehead.
Yep.
Yeah. I was able to using judicious use of minefields, and Charlie judiciously failing all his skill checks to get his recon across the minefields. This meant he was unable to spearhead out of his deployment area. So he basically started the game wedged into the corner of the board, into just the actual deployment area, and it was a rather cluttered table. And he decided to only attack on one side. So basically, I was able to put two just healthy British infantry platoons in the village that's covered the center of the board, and my Leos were just gradually coming onto the table. And I think I put my Gepards in ambush, or my marksmen, which marksmen love BMPs. So basically, I just waited until one BMP section kind of isolated itself from the rest, and then they popped and basically blew it off the table. And he was just never able to get anything going. Every time he moved forward, I was able to sort of kill the forward elements and keep them off the table. And then my Leos just started coming on, and I just sort of used them as just sort of pop out and shoot up a formation, and then maneuver around and hit the next one. So they took very, very little return fire, because, as most people know, a Leo 1 is just a glass cannon. So. And I was just able to keep them outside of 8 inches of the objectives till turn 6.
All right. I guess him not getting through on the side probably.
That would have been big, because he would have had a nice, just a big freeway right down, right up the table.
Oh yeah, that because he was doing. He wasn't doing so. Oh, he was doing Iraqis.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so their skills 5.
Right. He had American Air. I think he had A-10s back in the
yes,
A-10s and Heinz. But I had 3 AA platoons on the table. This was at 90 points, correct?
No, I think it's a 70.
80.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I just had the Gepards and the marksmen, but that was enough to keep his air. Basically, he kept his Heinz loitering off the table until the A-10s finally came in. So
makes sense.
But
Yeah.
they didn't come in until very late. So.
All right. Well, let's check it. Let's go on. Ding 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 ding. Round 3. Let's see here. Oh, Andrew, you end up playing Tim McClellan.
Mm-hmm. That was a fun one. Was it Contact?
Oh yeah, hold on. Andrew and Tim.
I think we were both Maneuver.
No. Yeah, you played CA, so counterattack.
Oh yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. I think and he ended up attacking, and I think we were both Maneuver. Yeah, and he ended up attacking, and that's where you saw the weakness of the GI Joe tanks. They simply, if they have to come out in the open and dance, they had problems. And I was, again, they were just by hedgerows and various enough terrain. I was able to keep his big guns out of it, and his infantry came in, and he had 2 infantry platoons attacking one at the town where I only had 1 infantry platoon. And they would always get into the assault, kill 1 or 2 stands. I would counterattack, kill 1 or 2 stands, and then he would fail and have to break off. So I was able to keep fighting, basically sort of wore down 2 infantry platoons, his main 2 infantry platoons, just by doing that to him turn after turn. And I was sort of using my transports like a blade of shielding. I could kind of rush them to the flanks and get open shots and kill a couple of guys, and then they would get destroyed by Overwatch fire. So I was just constantly able to just whittle his platoons down. And I lost my transports, but in Team Yankee, a 6-3 is perfectly normal. So I didn't feel like surrendering a few units was a great loss.
Yeah, but you got the 6. That's what's important.
Right.
Then we go to American Chris Jackson versus John Holland. You guys played did you counterattack?
That doesn't sound right.
I have Holland took maneuver, Jackson you took attack.
Contact.
And I wrote down contact. Did you guys play contact?
Yeah, we played contact.
All right, they're contact. Got to read my handwriting here or my notes.
Yeah. So I was attacking. He was defending. He gifted me most of his AT in the first turn. So he had 1 scout section with 1 improved tow vehicle, and then 3 of the 2 vehicle improved tows sections. And they were lined up pretty much across the table. And so I lined up across from them with all of the, with a platoon of GI Joe tanks facing each of those sections, as well as, like the infantry platoon. And, I just needed a 6 to kill a platoon. I got 5. So 1 platoon died outright. The others all took a hit and ran away. So boom, turn 1. He is most of the vehicles that could deal with my Abrams are gone. He still has his Abrams in reserve, as do I. And we're just waiting for the next couple of turns to come back in. I continued to attrit. I maneuvered around, got my infantry up a little bit closer. I had both batteries of artillery raining death and destruction down on his infantry platoon, just making it, wander off one or 2 stands at a time. Weakened one side to the point where when his Abrams came, that's where they had to go because there was nothing else there. Meanwhile, mine came on the other side, and just with no tows left and nothing but an RDF platoon and some mortars and some infantry on the second objective, I kind of moved that way, knocking them out 1 or 2 at a time. And once I got to the point where there was nothing left, just kind of walked onto the objective. Meanwhile, he had kind of stabilized the other side and was moving his Abrams over to try and knock me off the one that I'd already gotten to. But the only way to do that was to show his butt to somebody. So the platoon of RDFs that were threatening his objective got 8 shots at long range at the backside of his Abrams. And yeah, you're going to make that happen. That they went away, and there was nothing to move over to contest the objective. And started the next turn, it was mine.
Okay. Little Abrams on Abrams action and whatnot. Let's go move on. Chris Fretz and Patrick. Yeah,
Patrick
yeah.
Killing Ground.
Killing Ground
was the mission. Yeah. I was attacking him. He was running West German recon, so he had a lot of infantry, recon vehicles, Gepards, and then his big unit was he had 3 Leo 2s. I think it was 3, maybe even 4. I think it was 3 Leo 2s that were his primary reserve. He was defending, so they started in reserve. And I pushed hard on one side of the table. He didn't have a lot of armor on the field, but he was able to get his Gepards around and dice up one of my Leo platoons, which kind of slowed me for a minute. But I kept really pushing on one side of the table. And he didn't get his reserves on for quite a while. Probably, I think that's an immediate reserve mission, and didn't get them on until turn 3. And then, of course, they come in on the sides, and it's random, and they came in on the wrong side of the table. So they tore up one of my infantry platoons, which was still being a threat over there. And his Leos came in and on that side as well. That's right. He had Leo 1s and Leo 2s in reserve, and the Leo 1s came in and went after some of my artillery. I had a hammerhead unit there that engaged them and sort of kept them a little bit at bay, but at the same time I was pushing on the objective, and he just essentially ran out of stuff on the objective since his reserves didn't come in that area, and I was finally able to push him off the objective and win the game there. Okay. So my 3rd West German is day.
All right, so 3 West German.
I think I played all the West Germans that day.
Yeah, okay, there you go. That sounds about right. I was wondering. Yeah, I thought we had 3. So okay, you won that lottery. Then John Mayer, you played. You ended up playing JB. Matter of fact, I think all you guys at one point played JB that day. So yeah. So John, you guys, John. Okay. Yeah, you both picked maneuver, and you got OF, which is
outflanked.
Outflanked, right?
Yep. So he told me that he used both his defends, and so I knew that is going to help me a lot because I didn't feel like attacking 5 infantry platoons and trying to push them off an objective. So since he used both his defends, I threw down a maneuver because I figured that's what he would throw down, and he got unlucky and ended up being the attacker, which helped me tremendously. And then he was extremely aggressive with his infantry platoons, and he just rushed them all forward, and he tried to go for both objectives at the same time.
Well, let me say something. The apple does not fall far from the tree.
Yeah. But he moved all his guys out in the open, come across from me, and I had a really good game because anything that wasn't in bulletproof cover was getting machine gunned down, and everything that did manage to get in a building or two, I was making 5 up and 6 up firepower with my own infantry, but what really hurt me in the beginning is his priors took out my priors. Like he rolled 3 6s because he needed 6s because they were gone to ground, and he took out my priors right at the beginning of the game. And then luckily after that, he couldn't hit anything else. But I was getting kind of worried there, thinking he was going to take out my artillery after that. But luckily he couldn't roll anything higher than a 4 the rest of the game for those. But the rest, I got lucky. All my reserves came in right. Like turn 1, I got 1. Turn 2, I got 2. And turn 3, I got everybody else in. I was able to kill almost all his infantry by turn 4.
All right. So that made for turn 4. Kind of makes for a quick game.
I broke his formation by turn 4.
Nice. Well, so what was happening at the same time? So round 3, the top table ended up facing each other, which was Tom Burgess versus John Cedarberg. At that time, Tom had 15 points going into round 3, and John had 14. So Tom had 8-7, and John had 2 7-7s. So they were facing each other, and they ended up playing. Oh, where are you, John? And I know you're on here somewhere. Oh, wait a minute. There it is. They both played maneuver, and they ended up with scouts out. So it pretty much when I saw that, I knew that was going to be a tie between those two armies because they had not identical but similar armies. What's the transport? BTRs.
Yep.
Right. So they both had BTRs. So they had a lot of stuff, a lot of guys, and neither one of them really came close to the other one's objective. They were just getting pounced. So they ended up with 3-3. Then on table 8, ended up being Howard West versus Alex. And how they ended up with breakthrough, and you could see that replay. And that pretty much ended the first day. So the recap was going into that last day. Chris Jackson, you were in the lead with 19 points. Then followed by Tom with 18. And then John Cedarberg with 17. And Andrew and Chris at 15 apiece. And that was kind of your top 4 or 5, your top 5. So still anyone's game going into it. And then, of course, we had a dinner. We all went out had a little dinner. And Chris is like, well, I was in the lead, so I'm out now. Now he'll be back in a second, I'm sure. And and at that time, during the dinner, what we do is we give the award for the top player for the season for battle rankings, which happened to be John Cedarberg. So we gave him a little plaque. Let me get Chris back in here. There you go, Chris. All right. So we gave him a plaque. I had a nice dinner. Car alarms and everything else that was involved. So I had some stories there. But I'll save them for another time. And so after a nice rest, I'm sure you guys were probably thinking about who was in the next round and everything. I did hit the button so you guys could see who you guys were going to play after dinner. And so we go into round 4. Boom, boom, round 4. Hey, Andrew, you ended up playing William White. You guys played G, which is
I think it's Gauntlet.
Gauntlet, right? Oh, fun mission.
Well, it was for me.
You ended up playing Gauntlet.
That's a tough mission for the attacker and the defender, because he had just a BTR swarm of BMP3s, and I had to pretty much start all my armor in reserve, and there's no ambush for the defender. So basically, and he decided to night attack.
Oh.
For a Russian.
For a Russian.
Yeah, but it made sense because in my army, the only unit that has thermal sights is the FO.
Oh.
So.
Okay.
So that +1 defense kept a lot of his units on the table longer than they should have been. You know, because Knight just stacks a +1 on top of it.
Yeah.
And then after turn 1, there was such a big vehicle graveyard. I mean, there was plenty of cover where there wasn't cover before for his vehicles to hide. So
yeah,
it was really a
question. Smoke.
Yeah, could I kill him fast enough to get him off? So basically, end of turn 1, he's got the objective just buried in BMPs, and I just had to get in there and curb stomp them as hard as I could, as fast as I could. Fortunately, I was able to get inside his missiles range, meaning that they would have to actually move away from me in order to engage me, so off of the objective. But yeah, it was like I said, it was just, can I kill the stuff faster than he could bring it on the table? So that was essentially the answer was yes, by the way. But it took a while. I had to wait till my reserves came on to really start the shooting. And Leos are great out of reserve because they, the stabilizers are full rate of fire up to 10-inch moves or up to 14-inch moves. So they were able to come in and engage even from the far side of the table and still be able to knock out his BMP3s.
Yeah, well, no, gotta love those Leo ones. Moving rate of fire 2, decent gun.
Mm-hmm.
The 14-inch move. I mean, albeit a +1.
Yeah, but still get enough shots with them, and you'll score some hits. Yeah, they're great right up till you look at the front armor score, and then you realize why they're so cheap. So basically, I'm spending, Leo's just peeking out at an angle just so they could clip just a few BMP3s every engage a few BMPs every turn, and then kill them, and then move out a little more, and then kill the next round. But I have new respect for BMP3s.
You have respect for them?
I didn't before, not much. But now I see their threat. I mean, it was also impressive the fact that even at nighttime he was able to, terrain dash across the table and be on the objective on turn 1.
Oh, yeah.
Because I couldn't get anybody within 8 inches to slow him down.
Oh yeah, it's the thing about Gauntlet. Yeah, you're as the attacker, you go first, and you're pretty much you're defending you get to the objective, hold on to it, try to hold on to it as the defender tries to beat you off. Then John, you end up playing Howard West. I got here CIR, which is what is I don't have the missions in front of me. What is CIR? What mission you're unmute you there, John. John, you're muted.
Sorry,
there
my
you
dog was barking. Yeah, I can't remember exactly what the name of the mission is, but it's the one where I had to put 40% of my force on either corner. And
encirclement.
Yeah,
it is encirclement.
Yeah, so what I did is I attacked, and I put all my artillery templates on the front objective to make him deploy away from the objective because he didn't want to start his turn being hit by 3 artillery templates right away. And then I put another objective just randomly out on one of the other flanks. And so it forced him to thinking that I was going to attack that main objective, put all his infantry up near the front, but off the objective. And he left his flanks a little bit more open than usual. And because of that, I was able to rush towards the other objective. But his ambush took me by surprise. And instead of putting it near the objective, he put it up at the very edge of that T and rushed into my backfield. And that's where he got his 2 points, whereas he killed my Lucases and he killed the mortar team because he surprised me with his ambush, because I thought he would push it towards the objective, but I was able to use my tanks to walk onto the objective because all he had were his 109s on the back objective.
So he was going for the points?
Yeah, he was going for the points. I think after he realized I was just going to almost walk on to the secondary objective instead of that one out by the T.
Okay. Then Chris Fretz, you ended up playing John Cederberg.
Yeah, we played Dogfight, and I was defending.
Yeah.
And Dogfight, I think, is now my least favorite mission. For those of you who aren't familiar with it or remembering it, it's basically no retreat, except for the fact that it's delayed reserves instead of immediate reserves, and they're scattered, so they could come in on either side or they could come in the back, just like no retreat. And John and I agreed afterwards that it was an extra difficult mission because he won on his turn 4 before I barely had a chance to get my reserves onto the table. But we had a good game. He was running the BTR horde backed with 3 T-80s, and I set up the best defense I could, and he moved forward across the table because, of course, he had enough stuff to move across the entire front. And I tried to blunt where I can. His main attack was actually across the minefields I had laid at the beginning of the game. He moved his infantry up to try and clear them with his T-80s sort of sitting in the background waiting to come in. And I knew once the T-80s got into my force, pretty much the game was over, just because I don't have anything much that can deal with them with the Leo force other than the ATGMs, which even they are a tough hit. Or if I could get the Leos on, but all my Leos were in reserve. But my mindless did do wonders, slowing him down. I was able to drop a mindlet on top of one of his big infantry platoons moving in, and that slowed him up as he had to try and get his force out. He didn't lose a lot, but it did. He lost 3 teams or something like that. But it slowed him down enough. Between that and then one of his smaller platoons, I was able to ambush with my PRTL Gepards. And pretty much decimate. So both of those platoons by the end of the game were down to only 3 or 4 stands. And then of course he had 27 BTRs in the force. I killed 23 of them, but that only worked out to be 1 full platoon or 1 full unit. The others were hanging on with 1 or 2. I actually had a chance at the very end of the game. I had a couple of remainders of platoons trapped, and in the trying to go from an 8-1 to a 6-3 at the very end and moving kind of fast, I neglected to realize I should have used my rockets to do a smoke bombardment for my troops going in, because they probably would have gotten in then with the benefit of smoke. And I probably could have turned it into a 6-3 instead of an 8-1. But it was pretty much, it was going to be a loss for me from the beginning just because of the mission and the mix of forces, I think.
Okay. Then table 8 now. Chris Jackson, you ended up playing Tom and counterattack.
Yep.
So that one you could see on video. out there. Once you, it was actually a pretty good game. Was getting a lot. I was watching the comments come through that one. Why don't you go ahead and tell us about it?
Well, we both picked attack, and went down to a die roll to see who got to be the attacker. I would probably not have done nearly as well as he did if he had gotten to put a motorized rifle company on top of the objective on turn one, like I put my infantry platoon, put it there. I had an interesting tactical problem because he had his BMP-3s in reserve. And so as soon as those came in, I was going to be sandwiched between most of his army with AT-19, AT-21, very good anti-tank assets over, on this deployment zone, and a company of BMP-3s with AT-21 missiles coming in behind. So I had to really watch my positioning so that I kept something tall between where he would come in and where I was at. And I wasn't entirely successful. I'm pretty sure I lost one just because I missed it a little bit. But the infantry got on the objective. I was able to keep him back for several turns, but his artillery was able to attrit me. His infantry was able to attrit me. He even got some BMP missile shots into that infantry platoon and took them down even more. I was hoping that my Humvees would be able to provide a lot of fire support, but they died quickly, and I was down to, I think, 2 at the end of the game, and then down to 3 infantry stands, and I think I had 6 of the tank RDF tanks left. He pushed me off the objective, and we were both contesting it. And this is where I made my big mistake. I went after the remaining BMPs, even though I had no need to. There were 2 BRDMs that I could have hit with the Abrams infantry and the RDF tanks, and done so in such a way that he would have had to charge a few stands of infantry into 2 tanks to try and push me off the objective. But I stuck him out too far, wound up losing 1. We figured out later that it should have still been a draw, but we went ahead and scored it the way we scored it because I was just dumb.
Yeah. And you could see all that. Like I said, that was round 4. It was a good game. And you could see how these 2 gentlemen played the game in Little Fallujah. Well, that takes us to round 5. So now let's go round 5. Okay. So Andrew, that won you a chance to play Tom. Let's see here. You guys played. You ended up playing Fighting with Draw, and it looks like Tom was defending. Oh, you're muted there, Andrew.
Audio professional. Yeah, it was. Yeah, that was unpleasant. I mean, Tom is a great player, and I always enjoy playing him. And he and I played 2 very bloody battles out in Elizabethtown the last few months, and basically his force and my force were fairly similar. So by the 3rd time, he knew kind of how I played. So he played very smart, and I had to attack, and I had a big town on one side of the field of the table that I could attack into, and I put an objective in there, and I had another town. Then I had a more flat, open place to play, and I figured I could go out there. So I kind of figured I'm going to go for the town because my infantry is better. Plus, I can keep the engagement ranges fairly short, meaning that his BMP's missiles are going to have a lot of problems. But there was just too much. I just could not. He had his whole force on the table, and I just couldn't couldn't drop the hammer because there was just so many shots coming in, and so many. You kill off 3 or 4 infantry stands, and you're feeling like you've accomplished something. But the Russians, they don't care. They just move another 3 or 4 in to take their place. You kill off a bunch of BMPs. Again, they're not too concerned. So I had a shot at it, but British being playing strangely. I go in, I assault, I whiff on my assaults, even though I've got one case I had 5 stand swing hitting on 3s, whiffed all of them. He counterattacks, kills 3, hitting on 5s. I counterattack him, needing a 3, and I have to break off. And had I won that assault, I would have been on the objective, and he would have been kind of hard pressed to push me off. So I felt I had a chance, but just every turn I'm picking up 3 or 4 tanks and 2 or 3 stands of infantry and the Gepards and then he shot the Gepards as a marksman off the table, and then his Hinds started coming in and doing what Hinds do. So after I killed 3 platoons, I threw in the towel because I knew it wasn't going to get any better.
Well, what's interesting so far, and through all the matches, that is the first fighting withdraw that came up. But there's a second. So John Cederberg and Chris Jackson, you guys played, and I also believe you guys also got fighting withdraw.
That is correct. I'm not sure I want to talk about it. It might reactivate my PTSD.
Well, you're amongst friends.
So I attacked, he defended. So my plan is to make haste slowly. I'm going to try to kill everything small and force him to start picking up important things about the middle of the game. And hopefully I will have a couple of turns left at the end to push up and get on an objective. Turn started out real good. I killed one of his missile teams, a couple of infantry stands with artillery. My Abrams did awesome, 7 hits out of 8 shots, and he failed 4 of them. So I put a significant dent on that side. But it went downhill swiftly. The plan to attrit was working well. I took out his scouts. I should have taken out his air defense, but I split fire like an idiot, and that didn't work out. So he was able to pull them. I killed something else. I forget what it was, but no, I didn't. No, that was it.
Yeah, it was a 7-2.
I killed the small BTR platoon a couple of turns later. But like I said, I should not have been shooting at them. I should have been moving everybody that could be seen by a spandrel behind cover so that he couldn't zap them from long range, and pulling back into a nice tight ball so that when he did what he did, which was bum rush me with every infantry stand on the table that wasn't launching missiles, I would have a nice tight defensive perimeter with infantry and Abrams that could shrug off those hits, and a bunch of machine guns that could start whittling those teams down. What happened is that I left the G.I. Joe tanks out too long, and he had an awesome turn to shooting, destroyed the headquarters completely, took out 3 of the 4 of the other platoon, and the last one ran away. And then, with just the infantry and 1 platoon left, I had to hide, but it's hard to hide when there's, 30 some odd infantry stands coming crashing down around your head. I also forgot to bring the Humvees back from out of where I had sent them off the board. So that was 24 machine gun dice that I just said, I'll not use that today. And fairly quickly, he whittled the last tank platoon down and broke the army. He's the only one that did.
All right. Yeah, that was probably his plan from the get-go.
Oh, it was. It was.
Yeah. And then on table 7, John Holland versus Chris Fretz.
We played Scouts Out.
Yes.
And we had a fairly open table in the middle, so there was lots of room to shoot missiles back and forth at each other. He was running mech infantry with lots of as I think Chris had mentioned playing him before, lots of ITVs, a platoon of Abrams, a platoon of the RDF tanks. We both reconned out, spearheaded out early along our long table edges, which is the only direction you can go in Scouts Out, and sort of established a threat there. But both of us had missiles covering, and so we wore each other out a good bit, knocking out his ITVs, and eventually he knocked out my Pratts. His Abrams and my Leos were both in our reserve forces, and when they started coming in, unfortunately by that time I had lost most of my Pratts, so that was my primary force against the Abrams, unless I tried to flank with the Leos. But I had knocked out all of his attack except for the Abrams. So they were kind of on their own, and he was very tentative about trying to move them in when I had all the Leos there. Finally, at one point, I decided, well, my Leos have got to just try and get up to a flank and move forward. And so I moved the Leos up, and I was ready to shoot all my smoke that turn, 2 smoke bombardments to cover the Leos to the left and the right, so that I could really get up to a point that I could make use of that 14-inch move and threaten the sides of the Leos, and both smoke bombardments failed.
What?
So all my Leos were sitting out there, right out in the open, in front of his Abrams, surrounded by his RDF tanks could hit me, his remaining ITVs could hit me, and that was kind of the end of the game at that point. I mean, we were pretty much out of time then. And I still had all my infantry on my objectives. He had then, pretty much wiped out my Leos at that point. I didn't have my ATGMs, but there wasn't time for him to try and go in with the Abrams unsupported against my infantry and try and push me off. So we ended up at a 3-3.
So your smoke bombardment, you're just looking for a 3, right?
Looking for a 4. For the Dutch.
Oh, for the Dutch.
Yeah.
Oh.
Even
Okay.
with FO? Did you have FO?
No, I had lost my FO at that point. So I had 2 bombardments, 6 dice, looking for 4s. Either one of them would have helped. Both would have been great. But yes, then I rolled, 1, 2, 3 on both die rolls. And John and I both sort of looked at each other and knew what that meant. And one of the Leos actually did end up being bailed, and the platoon stayed around, but was not able to do anything with it. And then it finally went away, and that was time.
Oh man, I can see that conversation. Hey Sarge, isn't there supposed to be smoke screens here? Okay. Wow. And then on table 8, John, you ended up playing Tim in another good battle. Let's see here. You guys ended up playing
Gauntlet.
Gauntlet?
Yep.
Okay.
So both me and Tim were talking before the game, and we both went into it thinking that I would win. And I guess that's kind of what ultimately I got too confident in myself, and that's what bit me in the butt. But we ended up with Gauntlet, and then as soon as I saw Gauntlet, as a defending player, I hate Gauntlet more than anything. But so then he got overconfident, and then he moved almost everything out in the open across the table, and within my first 2 turns, I pretty much wiped out 2 infantry platoons completely, and I made another one like at half strength. So I completely took his attack out by turn 3. And then all my reserves were coming in, and I was getting in the back and taking out his back support thing. And, I had the game up in wraps. And then he put the last of his infantry platoon in his transports and dashed into the objective. And it was the one objective I left open because I thought, he's not going to try to move. That he's not going to be, that aggressive after I wiped out 2 infantry platoons already going after it. So he moved it, dashed it over there, and I'm thinking, okay, all I got to do is unpin my infantry, and I can just move up and, assault whatever 4 stands he has left. And then I rolled the dreaded 2 on my 3-up, to rally. I'm like, wait, I got my formation commander there, and then I rolled a 1. And so now I had nothing to move over to the objective that I originally had near the objective. So then I had to try to run 6 stands from my other objective over there, and I was barely contesting it with 2 guys, and he killed them and pushed me off the objective and took the victory there. So that was me being overconfident, leaving it, and I left an entire objective open for almost 6 turns. Letting him.
Don't do that.
Well, save that for what have you learned, okay, later.
Yep.
All right. Like I said, you can also see that game in its entirety. By the way, I know they were going back and forth. No, this is your game. No, it's your game. Anyway, it was interesting. It was like, no, yeah. So that leads us to round 6. Oh, okay. So, Chris Jackson, you ended up playing Ryan on table 3. Not table 3, but what you played?
That was Ryan on 3.
Actually, you were on 3, but you guys ended up playing. Why does it look like I have COD? Where's Ryan? Oh, I love my handwriting. Oh, do you guys play Contact?
Yeah, that's right.
Okay, you guys play Contact.
So this one, the Abrams were the big turd in the punch bowl. He was running Iraqis with light cav support. So most of my game was spent destroying anything with AT over 19, going after the tow missiles, and then he brought his Heinz in from reserve, and since I had already pretty much decimated the tow force at that point, everything shifted to shooting down helicopters. And he was very considerate, very generous. He left those things out there for me. I mean, he was going after everything that was on the board. I was defending, so my Abrams were still in reserve, and I couldn't start rolling for him until turn 3. So he was out there with those Heinz going after Luke's platoon. He got one of those. He was shooting up, anything he could get his sights on. Meanwhile, he was paying a 1 or 2 helicopter per turn tax because I had stopped shooting at anything that wasn't flying. Every ATGM on the board was flying their way, trying to make those things go away because they were the only thing left outside of 4 or 5 T-72s that could do anything to my Abrams. And he was hiding those T-72s behind the big old impassable hill there on the map. I had to shift my Gepard over so that they could cover more of the board. I had to head them in one corner because it was the only place to hide the damn things. And once we got to the point where he was down to 2, I finally rolled a 5 and got the Abrams on. That's not true. I had actually brought in everything else first because if he was going to give me more time to shoot those birds down, then I was going to take all the time I needed. So by the time that the Abrams came on, I think he only had 2 left, And when he brought him in, I still had 3 Gepard to swat them, and swat them they did. And at that point, it was just drive across the board, do what Abrams do, push infantry around. And it took a couple turns, because I don't think I passed a single counterattack roll this entire tournament. But I didn't need to. I pushed once. He came back, swung, missed. I failed, backed it up, came back in the second time after doing a lot of machine gunning because nobody got back in their holes. And it was over. There was a brief pause as the T-72s came out, but they got basically focus fired by everything that was on the board. They were in range of both platoons of the German infantry that I had. They were in range of the Dragons from the U.S. infantry platoon. 2 platoons of G.I. Joe tanks were popping at them. And, I think I had one guy on the roof throwing rocks. They didn't make it. And then the Abrams pushed the infantry off.
So then, Chris, you ended up playing Howard.
Yeah, in Contact also.
In Contact, yeah.
And Howard was running West German infantry as well. He was another 5 platoon infantry force. So he had 3 Bradley mech infantry and then 2 West Germans. And again, nothing much in the way of tanks. He had some artillery at Gepards. So he started with a couple of the Bradley platoons in reserve and a couple of other things with one of the Bradley units as his ambush force, and had the one mech platoon that was on the table holding one side and the West Germans holding the other with his artillery and Gepards in the middle. So I went for the American side because there was not as much there, not as many missiles. And I figured I needed to flush out his Bradleys. So I was actually able to flush them out on the other side of the table. So they came out over there, which left me really just working on the mech infantry. So I really pushed there, was able to pull forward, and was able to reduce that platoon and got to the point I was ready to go in for the assault. He only had a few infantry stands left holding the objective. And again, time was running short, and I was trying to knock out these last couple of stands and didn't have enough time to really set up the assault right. Again, probably could have benefited from a smoke bombardment, which I didn't fire, and ended up with going in on the last 2 stands that were holding the objective. He was able to knock out one of the 4 guys I had coming in. So I had 2 guys on one guy on the other. The 2 guys, of course, knocked out the one guy. My guy on his company commander whiffed. Then his company commander killed my guy, and I was more than 4 inches away from any way of continuing the assault. And so we ended up being a draw, whereas if I could have knocked out that one guy, it would have been a 6-3 me instead of a 3-3 draw.
Okay. Then interesting what happened. So this is round 6. So kind of the position was that Tom was 1 point behind John going in the last round. So they already played on round 3, so they weren't meeting again. So Tom ended up drawing Tim McClellan, and they got the mission scouts out. And let's welcome Tom to the broadcast. Hey, Tom. Oh,
hey,
there you
sorry,
go.
I was on mute. Hey, sorry for the late join. I had a friend from out of town who was visiting, and so had to had dinner and a few drinks with him. But thanks, glad to be here.
So yeah, Tom, what we've been doing for the last hour and a half has just been going through each. Everyone's just basically they're telling dungeon stories about their battles, and so we're around 6. You want to talk about your game with Tim?
Sure. It was actually Spear Point was the.
Okay. So I can't read my handwriting. So yes. That's a P.
Spear Point. And I've never ever beaten Tim in any game, Flames of War or Team Yankee. So I think I had my work cut out for me. I was attacking, he was defending, and I had sent one of the motorized rifle companies, BMP companies, off to the far objective, while the other one and most of the artillery tried to push on the close objective. And he repositioned, and I guess the bottom line up front was that things kind of stalemated in front of his position. And this is one of those battles where neither side can win, even though there's a defender. The defender can't win unless they take an objective. So I was never able to push in close enough. I did get very close at contesting briefly, but he was able to throw me back and ultimately do a lot of damage. And if we had more time, he might have been able to push on and take an objective, but we had already played well over like 7 or 8 turns by that juncture, and so kind of ended up just as a draw. So I probably had a chance to win the game in retrospect, because I took photos. I plan to do an AR, so I was trying to keep good mental notes. And I think if I had both companies push on both initial companies push on the forward objective, that I would have done a bit better. I certainly would have gotten closer to victory than I did. Still may have ended up being a 3-3 draw. So, and this is the one where I was really missing the tanks. The T-80s that I chose not to take in order to take that BMP-3 third company. If I had tanks on the board to start with, those things would have rumbled right into that objective and just totally just pushed right in and pushed all the Marine infantry out of the way. And it would have been danger close. There would have been no chance to use missiles, and et cetera, et cetera. So if I had tanks in that one, I probably would have had a much better chance. But as it was with his infantry trying to fight out infantry, and he had a lot of Marine infantry and some Army infantry in support, so it just ended up being a stalemate. But a good game, and I'm glad to say, at least in this one, that Tim McClellan did not beat me like he did every other time we met. It may have only been a 3-3 draw, but I take that as improvement against them, and I learned. So hopefully I'll do better next time. But that was pretty much about it for that game.
No, cool. Yeah, no, I was keeping an eye on that game, how you were doing and everything. So it looked pretty. It looked like it was anyone's game.
I'm glad that nobody told me I was only 1 point behind Cedarburg, John, because I then probably would have been really nervous. I went in that thinking, yeah, whatever. I just, wasn't exactly sure where I was overall. So I just kind of went into it thinking, well, there's no chance I'm going to overtake John, and and be lucky if I even stay close to where I'm at. So I just kind of went in there, a little bit more relaxed and nonchalant maybe than I should have been. But it was still a good game. I enjoyed it. Tim's a great opponent, and I did learn something from it. So that's a key takeaway.
Yeah. No, it was the tournament was pretty close, especially there. It started separating you and John kind of started separating from the rest of the pack, but it was still pretty good. Then table 8, the last round. Once again, like I've been telling everyone, you can see the video of the entire game, which ended up being John Cedarburg and Andrew Hobson. And you guys ended up breakthrough.
Breakthrough, yeah. I got exactly the match I did not want. Table with nice, long, wide open lanes of fire, having to attack into John Cedarburg's, massive piles of infantry with, missiles that could punch my dainty Leo 1s with impunity. So there was basically I tried to figure out a way to where I could at least get into his lines and kind of push him back enough that it would sort of keep his flank march from getting too far around the corner. I knew I had to move up more or less the center of the table because he had, 10 T-55s and at least 3 T-80s in reserve. So, they come on in a corner. He has immediate reserves. They're going to come on before my Leos can really get past the danger zone. And so, there just wasn't a lot of options. So basically, I launched an infantry attack assault on turn 1. I needed to kill a few more things to have gotten in. I didn't get the kills I needed. I was able to drop smoke and block a lot of his missile shots. I was able to use direct fire smoke from the Leos and stop a lot of the missile shots. And in retrospect, I probably could have relied a little more on direct fire smoke, but no, it was not good. And then after my infantry assault failed, my Leos are sitting basically in the open, looking at 2 or 3 turns of just the missiles from the infantry just raining down on them, hitting on 4s. 6 shots per company, hitting on 4s, and my tanks are going to go away very quickly. So I angled for an assault with my Leos, which is not a great tactic, but it was basically that or stay in the open and die. And the assault went about as well as expected when they have tandem warheads, and then after that, it was just a matter of me kind of picking. Trying to pick off platoons until I could get to 3 points. Once I hit 3 points, I said, okay, we're done. Because there was no way I was going to get him off the objective.
Well, so then what happened after all said and done, the results, you got John came in first, with 5 wins and then 1 tie with Tom. And then, Tom, you came in second with 4 wins and 2 ties. And then, John Mayer, you came in third with 3 wins. And the 3-3-3s really did help. And then Chris Jackson, you came in fourth with 4 wins. It's kind of interesting. John had 3 wins, but the 8s, the 2 8s, and the 3-3-3s snuck them up there. And Andrew, good showing with everything. 3 wins, coming in 5th. And then Chris, you were in the. You had the 2 wins, and who else is on here? Then William. Hey. You got 2 wins, so not bad. Unmute. He muted his mic. Okay. So overall, by the way, Tom, good showing. John, good showing. Everyone, good showing. It's the. I don't know. I think it's harder to, especially get an 8 or 7 in Team Yankee, because there's so many things that could kill anything. No, I think it was pretty good. Tom, when we first started, we talked about the format. What did you think about the format? You're muted.
I know.
Okay.
It takes me a while to figure out where the heck it is. I'm clicking on my icon, but it's actually down lower. But anyways, yes. So no, it was a great format. I think it really forced people to think outside across all 3 postures and not knowing which. I know some people. I understand that. I know John Cedarberg told me that he had each list geared to a certain mission, like a certain level he would attack and a certain level maneuver and a certain level defend. And but having that core that was consistent throughout really forced people to think hard about the core, think hard about the what they were going to do with those sideboards that they were going to add to the main force with. So I like the format. I think I liked a good bit more than the Flames of War Masters from November, which was a bit more random and had offset forces at some points. So I liked it and wouldn't mind doing it again.
Oh, very good. Then let's talk about the elephant in the room, which is the BTR list for the Soviets. Okay, because that's why I scrolled down. So John and Tom had BTR lists. William did, but Alex had
Afghan.
They're Afghani.
yeah, the Afghan. So, is there anyone else that had a BTR list? I don't think so.
I think Cedarburg was the only one with the BTR.
John was the only one. Yeah.
Yeah, I had a BMP list, which is similar but
Oh,
different.
He taught me the difference between BTR and
BMPs.
BMP, and it was not a fun lesson.
oh, yeah. One has wheels, and the other one has missiles.
Yeah, exactly. One kills you, and one is a point. Yeah.
Yeah, I think the BTR missiles are in the end harder to kill because they're dug in infantry. I don't know if all cases they can usually set for an attack. Yeah, and so they're pretty rough. And
the BTRs are massive enough units and deadly enough to a lot of things that you can't ignore them too.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah, they shoot down stuff and tear up a lot of infantry and tear up light vehicles. So, yeah, and they're largely expendable. If you don't mind giving up a point, you can just send them on a death mission.
Right, and the tandem warhead makes it, almost no tank can go in against them now.
Oh yeah, that was huge. In Chris and I's game, the tandem warheads with the M1s was pretty. They didn't get to do much of it, but when they did, it was pretty spectacular. It's like, wow, it's pretty amazing they can just go in and rough handle an M1 at point blank range. So, yeah.
Oh
definitely.
yeah, the RPG 17 something.
7VR, I think, is what it's called.
Or right. Yeah, it's pretty. They're pretty studly.
Yeah, I think artillery, but there's not enough time to really use the artillery. I know William White had the TOS, and I imagine that he was thinking that would be helpful against like a Cedarburg list or my list, with it just shell out the infantry and the vehicles run away. But it took a long time to shell forces out. Just even I had 3 templates, and I could really barely scratch even a single, British mech platoon would take all game just to take out one platoon. So we couldn't imagine trying to take out 3 large MRs, whatever's, and artillery is just not going to do it. So something has to go assault. Well, that's the heavy tanks, but then the heavy tanks now have the 7 VRs, so it makes it very, very difficult to dislodge those forces. I was surprised John did as well in the missions that he had to attack. I thought my force would be better attacking. He only had the 3 T-80s, and I thought they could be dealt with. But he's a great player, so he certainly a good bit better than me, no doubt. So he obviously was able to attack with them. But I just felt like that force is not going to yield in a defensive battle. You're going to be at best get a draw against it, and probably the same with mine in defensive battle. Probably best going to get a draw.
Right. Now, do you guys prefer for Team Yankee? Do you prefer the lower points like the 70, or do you prefer 120 points like like last season was?
Well, I think for the lower points, especially underneath the 100, it really helps the Soviet players because they can still bring almost everything they can to complete a full combined arms list, where NATO players have to really pick and choose. Once you get below 90 or 100 points to 90, it's really hard for a NATO player to bring everything they need for a combined arms.
I'm not going to agree with that. I mean, yes, you are right. NATO stuff is generally more expensive, but if you get away from the main battle tanks, if you can resist the Leo 2 and the Abrams, Siren Song, you still have a lot of points to put stuff together. And that's why I run Leo 1s. I can get a lot of shots that are quite deadly for not a lot of points. So I don't feel like that I'm sacrificing anything. Oh, no, I can't run a Challenger. I was never going to run one anyway. Because I feel like, the fact is there's so much AT-23 on the board now. There's so many high AT assets that, it's just a waste. The heavy tanks are just a waste of points. So I feel like I can throw together enough without.
I would be happy running even my 70-point core force all by itself. I mean, at 70 points, I had the 3 motorized rifle companies, and they're all mid-size. I had artillery, I had scouts, I had air defense. I had everything I needed at 70 points. When we went at 80 points, all I added was helicopters. I just added because they could be a decent strike element. And then after that, I just added additional artillery pieces and some more scouts. So there was nothing I needed at the sideboards that I didn't already pretty much had covered in the base 7-point list. It just gave me more of it. So I think at 70 points, a motorized rifle battalion of BMPs is pretty damn awesome. And I don't think that if I played against like my game with Andrew, his leopards and British infantry, I think the reduction of points would hurt you more than it would have hurt me. I just think that you have more key assets that you will miss. And at 70 points, I missed nothing. I'm good.
I think I would have done better at 70 points because.
Okay, let's challenge match.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, well, I would agree with Andrew. I think. I mean, maybe not 70 points, but when I faced John, I was hoping for the 80-point level because he was at least a little more limited in what he had, and I felt with my force I had a better ability to deal with him. If we hadn't ended up with dogfight, it might have been better. I think the sweet spot is like 85, 90 points, somewhere in there. Both NATO and the Warsaw Pact have options. I think if you go below, it does start hurting NATO. I think if you go above, it just gets to be too much stuff on the table, regardless of which side you're on. And you're just sort of slogging through trying to create an advantage. But at that 85, 90, there's still a little room for maneuver, still a little room for exploiting an advantage when that comes up in a game.
Right. And I think the points are sort of biased towards lighter tanks rather than heavier tanks, just in terms of return on an investment. It just makes more sense to not go for the 4 Abrams unless you really know how to run them. I'm not saying that Chris Jackson, he can run them really well. There are guys, John Cederberg, he runs those T-80s really well. So I'm not saying that it can't be done. I'm just saying that most of the time I feel a lot more flexible if I leave almost any tank well, in my army, a front armor higher than 9, I'm going to leave it home.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's nothing at beyond 100 points I want to bring. And in fact, I really didn't like playing at 120 points last year because my force is too big already. I got to lug too much stuff around. And when we went to 120, all I did was add air because I'm not painting more ground stuff. So, I personally don't like to go above 120, even though I know I get more stuff. I think that's about my limit for comfort of pushing stuff across the table.
Right. And I don't bring air and I don't bring heavy armor, so I have a lot of points to play with. So
let's see if we can get Chris in here. Chris, what do you think? Do you like the 70 or never mind? Go ahead, John.
I usually don't run the heavy tanks. I usually run lots of infantry. That's usually my thing. But I'm just thinking for the majority of other players, besides most Masters players play infantry and light tanks, but the other players, then it hurts those NATO players because most of them like bringing the Abrams, the Leo 2s, and I think that hurts them a little bit more because they don't have as much invested into the game. They only have that 1 or 2 lists that they have.
Oh, yeah. Good point.
Right. I mean, I definitely own all the other stuff too. I have a whole Challenger list sitting in a box somewhere, all painted and ready to go. And I can tell you right now, unless it's like a Thanksgiving, or they say, okay, well, there's the British, what is it, the Dad's Army, comes out where they're half the points. They're going to stay in that box because I think you can do so much more with those points than spend them on that kind of armor.
Yep.
The best armors don't get hit.
Yeah, that's correct. Yeah, if you don't get hit, then you can have tissue paper for armor, right?
Just like the martyrs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let me do this one more time. Okay, and so I just got that in there. That was my graphics that I did. So let's play. What did we learn? So Andrew, did you learn anything in this exercise?
Don't play on a Masters 4 days before major surgery because your brain won't be there. Yeah, actually, I mean a lot. Just that. You're talking about today's chat or Masters in general in terms of what I learned.
Oh, today's chat, or even with Masters.
Well, with Masters, it's like you just can't make mistakes, and that's kind of every year we say that you just don't make mistakes. As to this chat, it's really interesting because every time I look at somebody else's list across the table, my first thought is always, I can't beat that list. There's no way. And then it's really nice to hear, every other guy, the guys who are seeing across the table going, yeah, I can't beat, looking at my list going, oh, it's a really great list. I can't beat that. So it's kind of nice to see, how maybe your choices are valid after all.
Okay. Yeah. Chris?
Well, I think it was one of the things that was great at this event was the diversity of lists. And I think that's a good thing for the game, that we as experienced players looked at, the extent of what there was, and we didn't end up with 8 armies that were similar and then 7 others and then one sort of oddball list. So I think that was really good. So I think that was the big thing. I mean, I think that's a healthy thing in the game.
No, that was your takeaway.
Yep.
Tom, what was your takeaway?
I think I finally now fully understand what happens when you shoot at a headquarters element and there are nearby platoons of the same type. I've been butchering this back and forth, and I guess it's because in the text it says it in 2 different places, and the bottom line up front answer, I'll quote Chris Fretz, both can do it. So the defender can choose, or the guy receiving the fire can choose to have his headquarters join a unit to shift hits over as per mistaken target. So he has that option, and then the shooter can also target the headquarters element and then have them shift over to or bleed over. It would be a better term, to another like teams from another nearby unit. And the problem for me was that they're not together in the text. They're on the same page, but they're like in different locations. And so whenever I would see one, I'd say, there's the answer, and I would go with that. And I would never see the other one. And then it just happened to be which one I saw first was the – so I finally got that for both Flames of War and Team Yankee. So that's a key takeaway for me. And I guess the takeaway for those out there that might be listening is that don't take it for granted that we say this on our podcast all the time. Don't take it for granted that the master player has the rule right. You can be playing it for years and still get it wrong, and it takes forever to finally get to where you need to be. So that's my main learning point. I'll admit that I was wrong on that, and Chris's fell off, but that actually affected our game when he targeted my observer, and or wanted to target my observer and have the hits bleed over to a nearby Spandrel platoon. I said, well, no, if you shoot the observer, it's just going to go there because it's my choice to have them bleed over. In fact, he was right. Actually, we both were right, but you really don't know that until you see both parts and put them together. I just wish Battlefront had them, like right after each other instead of 2 different paragraphs that you are not in the same column even. So anyways, that's my key takeaway. And hope folks out there listening learn that rule, but also learn, just don't take, if you know the rule and you're 100% sure, don't be afraid to challenge a guy just because he has a green shirt or whatever.
All right, John?
Yeah, biggest thing I learned from the Masters tournament was when I have to remember not to be overconfident, especially when I was playing Tim and he just walked onto the objective and I didn't think I needed to, move a platoon over there because I thought after the first 2 turns I was going to break his formation. So I just have to remember not to be overconfident and always watch my own objectives, not just everything. But the biggest thing that I took away was I played everybody probably except Andrew, at least multiple times. Andrew and William White were like the only two people I've never played in Team Yankee. So I was kind of expecting I had a master list that I made that what I was expecting everybody to make. And the biggest thing that surprised me was there was no French lists, which I thought for sure we'd have at least one French player. And there was a lot of heavier tanks because I was expecting a lot of Leo 1s, a lot of T-55s from the new Russian book. I thought there'd be tons of those. That's what I based my list off of. And then when everybody's list came out, there was at least 5 or 6 lists with heavy tanks in there, and that completely took me by shock. And I didn't know how I was going to deal with that because I didn't bring any heavy AT with my stuff. I had like 2 Milans, and that was basically all I had to deal with heavy tanks.
All right. Speaking of French, Eric, don't bring heavy tanks. So does this mean the French are going to get any better? No, the French will not get any better.
Well, certainly not their tanks. I mean, there are many good things about the French in terms of their infantry and their artillery, but tanks right now are not one of their advantages.
Their rate of fire on the move doesn't cut it. They need to have hit harder or have more shots.
Yeah, they are not a match for the Leo 1 in terms of that, filling that role.
Yeah, when my Gepards can mow through an AMX platoon, I feel pretty good about that. So,
yeah, Walter says I learned I have so much to learn. Yes, when as you know more, you realize how much you don't know. Anyway, you have a walk away?
Who, me?
Yeah, you.
You guys can talk about a tournament for a long time.
Well, yeah, there's a lot going on. These are our dungeon stories,
Yeah, dungeon stories. Yeah.
So, I'll tell you what I learned. That I need to get a ringer. Because the day 1 when I ran both tournaments, which was fine, running both tournaments was fine because the Masters tournament, the Masters players pretty much they policed themselves, and I think I got called over maybe 3 or 4 times between the 2 days, and it was like wasn't much anyway. And the side tournament was fine, except Ed not able to make it caused an odd number, and so I had to play in that side tournament, which, by the way, it was mid-war de-escalation. So I picked an army that I thought would play fast. Boy, I was wrong. I played Soviet armor, the T-34 list. The guys get hit on 2s. Yeah, then I played so many armored car lists that they couldn't hurt me other than the Ferdinands. So that was interesting. So, they're like little gnats, bling, bling. Oh, we can't do anything to that T-34. So anyway, but that was, anyway, I had fun, and I hope you guys had fun too. And, by the way, I just want to get it in here one more time. I got to turn up the volume.
Yeah, dude. The bloom.
I didn't hear the volume. Oh, that's disappointing. There it goes. Yeah. Which was sponsored by Battlefront, Battle Rankings, myself, and Family Time Games that hosted us. Gotta get that boom in there. Oh, actually, hold on. We have someone. Let me throw this novel up here. Dan, thanks for typing that. Kind of agree with John that having these low point levels can be discouraging for new players. Okay, when I look at the Master 70 point list, massive infantry, older APCs, lighter tanks, etc. They learn heavily towards the opposite of what Battlefront pushes to new players. That is right. They want you. Basically, that's why they push the, the Abrams, and I don't know. One of you guys mentioned it. The Siren's Call. Was that you, Andrew?
Maybe, I don't. Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it was the Siren's Call of
The Leo 2, yeah.
Yeah, of the Leo 2, which
From number
by
19.
the way,
What?
By the way, I can't stand the Leo 2. That 18 armor, that did just die. Not worth the points. But anyway, I'll get off my soapbox. By the way, my T-80s, I love my T-80s. They stay around a lot longer. So there's my thing. Elite aircraft, top-end APCs, etc. Basically, forget the stuff that you brought and painted. Instead, you need all this niche stuff, some of which could be hard to find, right? For purchases, generally have higher prices too. Yeah. For example, a Leo 1. If you wanted to do Leo 1s right, that's a lot of Leo 1s. You bring them in 4s, you can 12 or 16 out there if you go nuts. I know the Germans, what they 3 points a piece or something like that.
Same as the Dutch, yeah.
Yeah, Dutch at 3.
Yeah, so you can go a lot of those bad boys out there. I like to think of them as the stewards of the 80s. So, but no, Dan, I think you're kind of spot on there. Yeah, Battlefront wants us to, they want to push the sex. We'll just call it the sexy stuff, right? Why do German players, why do you want to play Germans? Oh, because I want to play the Tigers. I want to play the Panthers, right? And because those are the, we'll call it the World War II toys. The Abrams, who wouldn't want to push some Abrams?
Right.
Right, or Cobras, or A10s. Oh, it's just like, that's the sexy stuff. And by the way, Team Yankee models, the plastic, I gotta love them. Just so crisp and so easy to paint and looks so good.
Yep.
It just that's a lot of people.
I think, Joe, one of the differences too, you kind of hinted at it there, between Team Yankee and Flames of War. You called the Leo 1s the stewards of the 80s. Well, the difference between Team Yankee and Flames of War is that Leo can kill an Abrams if it can get to the side. In Flames of War, a Stewart can't do that to a Tiger. It can't hurt a Tiger. So,
well, but he's absolutely right.
But still, there's not, even the little cheap tank can be a potent weapon in Team Yankee, where your T-70s and your Stewarts and your that kind of small light tank has a role in Flames of War, and certainly has a very important role, but cannot be sort of you're very rarely going to see a Stewart list in late war. But or if it is, it's you're kind of putting a couple Stewarts in and then packing the back end with the Shermans and the other stuff. But you're not going to see somebody run that. So I think that's one of the big differences, and one of the things that leads to people being able to look beyond the main battle tanks in Team Yankee as we're trying to craft these forces.
Right. I think in Flames of War, there's much more of a rock, scissors, paper sort of element to the ways units combat each other. They're against Tigers, or certain units simply cannot hurt them. But Flames of War, rock wins 70% of the time. Peyton does, rock against, scissors only wins 70% of the time. So suddenly these high point values for units which are generally more survivable I think becomes overrated. I think that nothing is that survivable on the modern battlefield, so it's very hard to justify these larger point outlays. But also, Flames of War, I think the pointing is biased much more towards heavy armor versus Team Yankee, where I think it's biased towards sort of like middle range armor.
Right, because John, what's your pariahs? I think it was 7 for 3.
Yeah, you get 3 of them for 7 points, and
Right.
they're almost unkillable for the most part.
Yeah.
As long as you have good terrain, they're almost unbeatable.
Yeah, it's too bad you can't take a whole company of them, right?
I know. I think that'd be a little unfair to have more than 3.
Yeah, but yeah, right. These three things at 7 points sits back. Even 21 versus say now you're doing the Leo 2. You're hitting that 18 front. People are rolling dice. Yeah, you hit 1 or 2, and you're looking for a 1 or a 2 or a 3. No, 3's a tie. No, 18 times. It's a tie.
It's a tie.
Yeah, or hey, a 1 or 2, 3 up to kill. That's a 7-point killing an 11-pointer. So yeah. Anyway, a lot of things can kill a lot of things. So
yeah, and I think what Dan points out is exactly right. But in Battlefront's defense, people want to see the big sexy units. But big sexy units have weaknesses.
Well, look at how long people scream for like Bradleys, and they're really not necessarily a particularly great element to have on the board, but people scream for them. Oh,
Yeah.
Gotta have Bradleys. Okay,
Yeah,
now,
same thing
now
with Warriors.
Bradleys are out there, who brings them? Hardly.
Right. Yeah. Same thing with Warriors. You get them on the table, and suddenly the reality is like, oh, these things have huge problems. I mean, they've got great armor compared to other APCs, but why pay a tank, a Leo 1's worth of points to get a Bradley, a Warrior, which still doesn't have a very good gun, and the armor is mediocre at best, and there are better things to spend the points on. So.
Yeah, agreed.
Yep.
So, any final thoughts? I'm gonna do some wrap up here.
Combined arms,
of course. Well, with that, gentlemen, I thank you. I do want to say this. We are going to take a little hiatus that we normally do this time of season. We are planning to be back August 11th, so we're taking a month off.
Really?
Yeah.
That long?
Yeah, you get a paid vacation.
Wow.
Yeah, that'll give us to recharge our batteries and you know what? The ratings are slumping just a little, so you know what that means? It's a totally new studio. Yeah, we redo the studio, and that's how we bring the ratings up.
Jump a shark. Introduce a kid to the cast.
That local news that is the go-to for local news. If the local news ratings start dropping down, you redesign the studio. Swear.
Yeah, you're right.
Yep. Yeah. Andrew's like, yeah, you're right. It is. That's what they do. They just it's not the people. It must be the studio. Get that. We need mahogany. Get that oak out of here.
We're kind of like in a lull, right? I mean, we just came off the Masters, but as more events start happening and the big conventions, I think you'll see more interest. It's just kind of we've kind of reached that point where people are watching because they had nothing else to do, but now they're going to be watching because of all the events and all the other stuff coming up and the chance to participate. So I expect to go back
You
up.
might want to post a list of all the tournaments.
Yeah, I'm gonna still be posting every week the list of tournaments and stuff, and so that will still be coming out because that's getting exciting. Yeah, Tom, I announced your tournament for this weekend.
Come join the 8 of us.
Oh, well, you know what? Yeah, unfortunately, I don't know. I'll see what Ann says. Anyway, but yeah. Anyway, we oh, by the way, Tom, does this look familiar?
No. What the heck is that? Bucky?
It's a beaver. It says Bucky's. So when we drove down to Florida, There's these convenience store gas stations that are on mega size.
Yeah.
They're called
They're like-
Buc-ee's.
They're like they call them Oasis. An
Oh,
Oasis.
basically they're like Oasis. The one we stopped at had 104 gas pumps, and they were all being used. And it was a 50,000 square foot convenience store that you could go in, hit a kiosk, order what food you want, and the whole thing was family friendly. So the idea was it was bright, airy, clean. Matter of fact,
the bathrooms were immaculate.
oh yeah, the bathrooms were immaculate. I actually observed a manager type walking around. They saw a piece of garbage on like something a little on the floor, like a wrapper or something. They were picking it up. It was the idea is to be clean, friendly, and fast. When we got in line to buy this cup, we were maybe 20 people, and we probably blew through that line in about a minute and a half. It was boom, 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 boom.
Yeah, Buc-ee's are in Texas.
Yeah, Buc-ee's,
Alabama, Florida,
and Georgia.
And Georgia.
Now, because they're so big, no two are closer than 50 miles apart. There was a lot of people in there.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Oh, they were blowing through the merchandise. They had like stuff like this, but all the snacks, drinks, everything you want in a regular convenience store, bigger, and they had their own brand.
They had their own brand of stuff.
Yeah.
So.
And Slim Jims that you could buy by the feet or yard or something.
They said 20 feet of jerky.
20 feet of jerky. That'll feed a family of 8. But yeah. This was the like. Anne has some friends. Believe it or not, she does have friends. She had some friends that was taking selfies with this stuff.
Yeah, they'd take a selfie with the Buc-ee's cup. Yeah.
And so we're like, what are they doing? Let's go see what this stupid beaver's about. And so we're like, oh, okay, I get it. Yeah, it's like it's about moving them through, and the price is right, and it's clean and friendly, and like we said, oh by the way, when the bathroom, I think the number of stalls and urinals and stuff was about equal to the number of gas pumps outside. So it was, yeah. But by the way, gentlemen, we did see. Okay, we ended up getting into Florida Tuesday evening. So Masters ended up on a Sunday. Monday we slept just a little. For me, sleeping just a little. Got on the road by 10. Went to Georgia. Stayed the night in Georgia. Got into Florida. Now, unbeknownst to me, because what I did is I looked to see if NASA was going to have a launch. NASA did not have a launch, so I wasn't worried about it. The problem is that SpaceX was having a launch. So NASA wasn't saying, hey, SpaceX is having a launch, which is like, yeah, but it's your facility. But anyway, I digress. So they were supposed to launch Tuesday, and before we got there, but there's a sightseeing helicopter pilot that I need to send a gift basket to. Yeah, he wandered into the airspace for the launch, a little close for NASA, and they ended up scrubbing the mission on Tuesday, which then they moved to Wednesday. So I was there to watch it Wednesday, which was Trey cool. It was hot as heck, but I think the one thing that shocked me, it's because I've watched them on camera and stuff like on film. but how bright the flame is out of the exhaust, the rocket exhaust, because I think the camera dulls it down, but when you're looking at your eye, it's like about as bright as the sun.
Yeah.
And you're like, and we're like 3 miles back watching it from the viewing stand, just how bright that flame is. And of course, and then give it time, you start hearing that, and then eventually you hear that boom, which I tried to, I was watching it live and then I had the camera just right below my eye. And then wherever my head, like where my nose was, I just tilted my head instead of my eyes, hoping that I would catch the rocket. I think I did a pretty good job. But, yeah, are you downloading anything? Tap him.
Ray.
Are you downloading anything?
No.
Okay. Anyway, it's going a little slow over here. All right. But the boom, the sonic boom.
The sonic boom. And then
pretty
we
cool.
watched it come back.
Yeah, and then about 8.5 minutes later, stage one came on back, which was pretty cool because, by the way, it is falling like a stone. And all of a sudden, it just puts like it's like like Bugs Bunny does with the air brakes, just and then there we go. But I can't think of actually being a person in that. Just how you would be like 2 inches shorter from your spine compressing, But anyway, that was pretty cool. So we did the NASA thing, and that I think unfortunately it was like the first full day, and that was like the highlight. Other than the stupid beaver. But anyway, we did that. We saw some friends and saw some family, and Anne's like, what's this mean? Anyway.
Hurry up.
Oh, hurry up. But anyway, gentlemen, thank you. We'll be back August 11th. But we'll be posting the tournaments for everybody. But we'll be back August 11th. Probably redecorate the studio and maybe make an improvement in the audio also. Maybe. I don't know.
Might get me a mic?
I might get you a mic.
Yay.
Yeah, you know what? I think you earned a mic.
Yay.
Anyway, gentlemen, thank you. Everyone else, thank you. Have a great summer. We'll see you on the backside. All right. Oh, do you want to play us out?
You can. I can.
Yeah, play us out.
All right.
I probably.
Play over there.
Over there.
Do something patriotic.
I didn't want to go on I-4. All right, everybody. Have a good